It's James Persimmon coming to you live from Jersey. Back in May, we were eating fresh strawberries. Now it's November and we're still getting fresh fruit. I'm gonna go over to my neighbor's house, check his tree out. Let's go. You can tell by the title and thumbnail, today we're talking persimmons. Persimmons are a fruit like no other, sometimes called the divine fruit. And most of the persimmons that we eat originally came from Asia, but there are some persimmons that are native to the US, so you might actually have a persimmon tree growing locally to you. Typically, persimmons are grouped into two categories, astringent and non-astringent. If you don't know what I mean by the astringent flavor, it's that like dryness in your mouth when you eat a fruit or something that has the tannins. That's what's causing the astringency. The tannins cause the mucous membranes in your mouth to actually contract, and that's what gives you that sensation of like dryness. So with an astringent cultivar persimmon, you have to wait for them to get really soft and jelly-like before you eat it, and then it won't be astringent. The astringent persimmons are better in cooler climate, but because they have to get so soft, they're not really good for shipping or anything, so you're not gonna find them in the store. You're gonna either have to grow them yourself or harvest them out in the wild. I've actually seen some American persimmon trees growing locally around here, which are an astringent variety or cultivar. Then on the other hand, you've got non-astringent persimmons, like the one behind me. I'll get into the variety more in a little while, but they can be eaten when they're still hard and before the frost. One thing about these is they need the hot summers in order to be non-astringent, because some of these, if grown in cooler varieties, could actually develop that astringent flavor. Being able to eat these when they're hard and also when they're soft gives you a lot bigger window for harvesting. Now you're probably thinking, can I grow persimmons? Well, typically they grow in zone 7 to zone 10, but here I'm in zone 6P and they're still doing well. One of the things about them is they can only tolerate temperatures to about 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Anything colder than that, you can start to get some damage. And also, the persimmon tree only needs about 100 hours of chill hours, which is a dormancy period. You might think that's a good thing, but it's actually dangerous, because if you have a few warm days in the early spring, the tree could open up due to its low number of chill hours. Then you could have a late frost, and that could actually kill off all your fruit. As you can see, the leaves have died back, and these leaves will survive temperatures to about 26 degrees. But we recently had that day where it dropped down to 21 degrees and it just killed them all off. Persimmon trees like to grow in full sun, but they'll tolerate partial shade. This one right here is grown in partial shade, and you can see it's doing excellent. The huge harvest, having no problem. They'll grow in most soils, but they prefer a well-drained soil with a lot of humus. So it's important to have that thick mulch down, especially when it's young, and keep the grass away from the young tree, because that could really pull nutrients and water away from it. And these trees do need a decent amount of water, especially when they have this much fruit. When the fruit is setting, you're going to want to make sure the ground is always nice and moist. So you don't have to come out here and just water every day, but you want to come through and make sure the ground is wet. Dig back the wood chips and make sure the soil is moist. If it's not moist, if it's not wet, then water. The persimmon tree tends to need little pruning. It grows really well naturally on its own. This one's never really been pruned, just here and there for the walkways. And one thing about them is if you prune them too heavy, it'll really hurt them and restrict them. They're not the kind of tree that you can train and do whatever you want with, something like an apple. So you're going to want to keep it low on the pruning and just kind of let the natural flow of it grow. This persimmon tree has never had any issue with pests or disease, and most of them don't. And I think some of that could be the kind of texture on the fruit and the leaves. On the fruit, it's really thick and waxy, and just same thing on the leaves. A lot of these leaves are dead, so you can't really tell, but they're still really thick, and you can notice how thick they are. But when they are growing, they're really waxy. And here's a fruit I have, one that I took before the frost came. So it's still got that waxy, thick, hard coating. I'm gonna cut into that and show you what it looks like. The variety of this tree right here is the Fuyu persimmon, and it's been in the ground for 5 years. This is the second year that it's produced this big, beautiful harvest. And this is a non-astringent persimmon, which means you can eat it when it's hard, like this one here, or you can eat it when it's soft. So that really gives you a good opportunity, like I said, and big harvest window. Because it doesn't have those tannins, it's non-astringent, so you can eat it when it's hard. And the Fuyu, it's the most popular actually variety grown throughout the world, and the most popular commercial variety. One of the reasons is because you can actually ship it and eat it when it's hard. This Fuyu here and other non-astringent persimmons are ready to eat once the color's full. So for the best flavor, you want to come through and cut it with a pruner. You don't want to break it off. You want to cut it with a pruner and then let them sit for a day or two and then eat them. That actually gives you the best flavor if you're going to eat them when they're harder. These non-astringent ones will store for a short period of time at room temperature. And you can put them in the fridge too, and they'll ripen and soften up in there. It's also a good idea if you're going to be harvesting astringent persimmons to grab some before the frost when they're fully mature and full color, but not yet softened. And you can put them in the fridge. They'll last in there about a month as they soften up. You can even throw them in the freezer and they'll last in there about 6 to 8 months. Now that I've got some harvested, let me cut them open and taste them, show you what they look like. First, I've got ones here that I harvested before the frost, so they're still hard. And these are the non-astringent ones, so you can eat them like this, when they're crisp, like an apple, as long as the color is all full. So let me cut into it, show you what it looks like. Even though these fruits are hard, they can still bruise pretty easily if you drop them, so be careful when you're harvesting them. Let me cut into it. You can see it's beautiful on the inside, and this variety has no core and no seeds, which is also a great thing about it, besides being non-astringent. So I like to cut it just like that, and you could eat it with the skin if you want. That's actually how you get the best nutrition out of it, because the healthiest stuff is in the skin. But I prefer to eat it without the skin personally. When they're softer, I do eat it with the skin though. So let me taste it. I'll try it with the skin first. Not too bad with the skin, especially after it's sat for a few days. And it's almost got like a cucumber cantaloupe flavor. Really good though. And it's really nice when you get to have them crisp like this, and then also good to have them when they're really jelly. You get a little bit of best of both worlds kind of deal. Now let me cut some of the same variety after the frost, now that they've softened up a lot. This is when I like to eat them. If you're going to be harvesting persimmons that are astringent, you're going to want them like this when they're really soft. That's when they're ready to eat. Then they won't give you that chalky taste in your mouth. They're like really sweet like this and juicy. I'll cut into it. I'm going to use a serrated knife because I don't want it squirting everywhere on me. Now here's a couple that are more ripe. This one is really ripe on this side and not completely ripe on that side. So again, I got the serrated knife here so it doesn't squirt everywhere or anything. Let me cut into this and just show you what it looks like. Okay. So you can see it's something's a little rotted right there, but that jelly, you can see how the texture is just like jelly. I love it like that, so sweet. So when they're soft like this and completely ripe, they're my favorite. So juicy, and they make a mess all over your hands. I love it. And you could use a spoon, but I mean, this is the way to do it. Fresh off the tree and just with your hands. So sweet. Almost like a, I don't know, I can't even explain it. Really sweet, like caramelly kind of flavor. And they're my favorite when they're like this. Well, that's today's video on persimmons. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for following along. You can see Tuck loves the persimmons too, so he's getting his fair share. Don't you worry about that. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it with your friends. See you in the next one.